This video demo is the property of VL Tape Society.
April 26, 1986. A date permanently etched into human history as a synonym for catastrophe. Reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded. In a single moment, it released an invisible poison into the atmosphere, a radioactive cloud estimated to be 400 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. The world watched in horror as the Soviet Union struggled to contain the monster it had created. Hundreds of thousands of men and women were sent into the disaster zone. They would later be known as the liquidators. They were dispatched into a war zone against an enemy they could not see, could not hear, and could not touch. Yet, it killed them slowly from the inside. Within the exclusion zone, an area spanning thousands of square kilometers, there was one place even the bravest liquidators feared. A pine forest located directly in the path of the radioactive fallout. Overnight, extreme radiation killed the trees. Their green needles turned a horrifying shade of rust red. It became known as the Red Forest. Official reports stated that the only danger there was lethal radiation, but soldiers assigned to patrol its perimeter whispered about something else, something older than radiation, something awakened by the disaster, something anomalous. October 1986, 6 months after the explosion. Sergeant Nikolai Borodin, a hardened veteran of the Soviet-Afghan War, led a small 3-man patrol. One of them was Corporal Dimitri, a 19-year-old conscript who was more familiar with books than rifles. Their mission was simple: map radiation levels along the western edge of the Red Forest, ensure no civilians had wandered into the contaminated zone. But the atmosphere felt unreal. A suffocating silence surrounded them, broken only by the constant clicking of their Geiger counters. No birds, no insects, just emptiness. Ahead of them, the Red Forest stretched across the land like an open wound. Its crimson trees looked less like plants and more like skeletal remains clawing their way out of the soil. "Stay alert. Don't touch anything, and don't separate," Borodin ordered, his voice rough. Dimitri nodded. His heart pounded as the Geiger counter on his chest clicked faster with every step closer to the forest's edge. The first anomaly came from their radios. Without warning, the devices erupted into violent static. But it wasn't ordinary interference. Within the noise, Dimitri heard something else. Distorted whispers, almost human, almost screaming. Borodin slammed the radio against his chest. "Radiation interference," he snapped. But Dimitri noticed the look on the third soldier's face. Pavel. Pavel had heard the stories. Then the compasses malfunctioned. Their needles spun wildly, refusing to point north. Instead, they seemed to pull toward the heart of the Red Forest itself, as if an invisible magnetic force was drawing them in. They stopped near a dried-out trench to rest. That's when Borodin saw them. Footprints in the damp mud. But they weren't boot prints. And they weren't animal tracks. They were enormous, larger than a bear's. Elongated, ending in 3 long claw-like impressions. Even stranger, there were only 3 footprints. 1, 2, 3, and then nothing. They vanished in the middle of open ground, as if whatever made them had simply disappeared into the air. Pavel began to shake. "Sergeant, we need to go back. This place isn't for us." "Shut up," Borodin barked. "Probably a wild boar warped by radiation. Don't be a coward." But Dimitri knew better. Wild boars don't walk on two legs, and they don't vanish without a trace. They moved on, more cautiously now. The tension thickened with every step. Several hundred meters later, they found something worse. In a clearing lay the carcass of a deer, but it hadn't been eaten. Its rib cage had been twisted outward as if pulled from inside its body. The skin was peeled away, and around it, the grass and soil were scorched in a perfect circle. There was no blood. This wasn't an animal attack, and it wasn't human. Borodin finally spoke, his voice tight. "We're heading back to the post." But when they turned around, the path they had taken was gone. The red trees had shifted, the forest had closed around them. They were trapped. Panic crept in. They searched for another route, but the forest felt alive, subtly guiding them deeper instead of letting them escape. Night fell quickly. Cold crept into their bones. They built a small campfire and sat close together, rifles ready. Then Pavel stood up. His eyes were wide, fixed on the darkness between the trees. "You see that?" he whispered. Dimitri and Borodin saw nothing. "A tall shape," Pavel said, trembling. "No face." Before Borodin could grab him, Pavel ran, straight into the darkness. "Pavel, come back!" Borodin shouted. They heard Pavel scream, a scream filled with pure terror. Then a sickening sound, like bones snapping. Then silence. A silence worse than the scream itself. Borodin's face went pale. He knew now. They were not alone. Borodin and Dimitri stood frozen by the fire. Pavel's scream still echoed inside their heads long after the sound itself had vanished into the red forest. No footsteps followed. No movement. No signs of a struggle. Just silence. A silence so absolute it felt unnatural, like the forest itself was holding its breath. Borodin tightened his grip on his rifle. "We wait until morning," he said quietly. "We don't chase him." Dimitri nodded, though every instinct in his body screamed to run. They fed the fire sparingly, afraid the light would attract whatever had taken Pavel, but even more afraid of what might happen if the fire went out. That was when the Geiger counters began to scream. Not click, scream. The needles slammed violently against the maximum limit. Radiation levels spiked far beyond anything recorded in the exclusion zone. And then, the fire died. Not gradually. It went out instantly, as if something had sucked the heat straight out of the air. The temperature dropped so fast, Dimitri's breath turned white. Borodin raised his rifle. That's when they heard it. Heavy footsteps, slow, deliberate, circling them in the darkness. Each step pressed deep into the soil, accompanied by a wet, cracking sound, as if something enormous was forcing its way through roots and bone. Dimitri couldn't see it, but he could feel it. A pressure in his skull, a low vibration in his chest. Then the trees ahead began to bend. Not sway, bend. Something tall emerged from between the red trunks. It stood upright, far too tall. Its body was uneven, asymmetrical, like flesh that had grown without rules. Its skin looked burned, charred and blistered, yet wet, as if constantly regenerating. Where its face should have been, there was nothing recognizable, just a dark, shifting hollow that swallowed the light around it. Borodin fired. The rifle barked again and again. Bullets slammed into the thing's chest. They did nothing. The creature did not react. It took one step forward, then another.
Pulled the pin. The creature moved impossibly fast. One moment it was several meters away. The next, Borodin was lifted off the ground. Dimitri watched in frozen horror as the sergeant's body twisted at an unnatural angle. There was a sound like snapping branches. Borodin's scream cut short. His body fell limp and was dragged backward into the trees. Gone, just like Pavel.
Dimitri was alone. His rifle slipped from his hands. Every survival instinct screamed at him to run, and he did. He ran blindly through the red forest, branches tearing at his skin, lungs burning, Geiger counter shrieking against his chest. Behind him, the footsteps followed. Not running, walking, patient, confident. The forest warped around him, paths looped back on themselves, trees appeared where none had been before. At one point, Dimitri tripped and fell into a shallow ditch. As he scrambled to get up, he saw something that would haunt him forever. Dozens of animal carcasses, wolves, boars, deer, all twisted and fused together. Their bodies melted into one mass, as if radiation had erased the boundaries between them. Some of them were still moving, still alive. Dimitri screamed and ran again. Hours later, half dead from exhaustion and radiation exposure, he burst out of the forest. Soviet floodlights blinded him. Soldiers rushed forward, weapons raised. Dimitri collapsed at their feet. He was the only one who returned. His debriefing lasted less than 10 minutes. Officers did not ask detailed questions. They already had their conclusion. Borodin and Pavel deserted, one officer said flatly, likely suffering from radiation-induced psychosis. Dimitri tried to argue, tried to explain the creature, the footprints, the bodies. The officer leaned closer. "You were exposed to dangerous radiation levels, soldier. You saw things." The report was finalized that same night. 2 missing personnel, 1 survivor suffering acute radiation sickness and hallucinations. No anomalous activity observed. Dimitri was transferred out of the zone. Weeks later, he was hospitalized. By winter, he was dead. Official cause? Radiation poisoning. But the story did not end there. Throughout the late 1980s and early 1990s, similar reports surfaced. Hunters entering the exclusion zone vanished. Military patrols reported massive tracks that ended abruptly. Sensors recorded brief radiation spikes that could not be explained by physics alone. Locals spoke of something roaming the red forest, a guardian, a punishment. They believed the explosion did not create the anomaly. It awakened it. Radiation didn't give birth to the creature, it fed it. Scientists offer safer explanations. Radiation can cause hallucinations. Magnetic anomalies can disrupt instruments. Fear fills in the gaps. All of that is true, but none of it explains why certain areas of the red forest remain unnaturally lifeless even today. Why animals avoid specific clearings. Why trees sometimes grow twisted into shapes that resemble bones or claws. Or why experienced guides refuse to enter certain zones after sunset. They say the same thing. Something watches you. Chernobyl is often described as a dead place, a warning, a scar. But scars are healed wounds. The red forest never healed. It absorbed something that night in 1986, something invisible, something patient. And whatever it is, it's still there, waiting. This has been VL Tape Society, and this was the story of the Chernobyl anomaly, a reminder that not all monsters are born from myth. Some are born from us.